Okay, well, good evening and welcome to the loud October regular board meeting of the Newcastle School Board. I'd like to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Okay, first item on the agenda tonight is adjustments to the agenda. Dr. French.
There are no adjustments.
Okay, makes that easy. Next item is public comments regarding agenda items for tonight's meeting. Do we have any comments on agenda items for this evening? Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is recognitions. Dr. French.
I would like to invite Mrs. Phillips up at this time to recognize our high school science fair winners. Is Mrs. Phillips here? Okay, well, we'll move on to student of the month and then come back to her. Okay. Mrs. Phillips? Okay, we'll go ahead and go on to the students of the month and then we'll come back to our science fair winners. So Mrs. Rhodes, if you would like to come and go ahead and present our elementary student of the month winners. Thank you.
All right. Is Mrs. Muncie here? She is. All right. So Mrs. Johnson was not able to be here tonight, so I am going to do TZ's Student of the Month as well as Prepays, and then Mrs. Muncie will come down and do Deer Meadow. All right. So I'm going to start with Prepays, and Mrs. Lanham is nominating Hannah Jernigan. So Hannah has been nominated for Student of the Month in recognition of her hard work so far this year. She has taken the opportunity of virtual schooling and has excelled with it. Hannah is an active participant in all of her Google Meets, and she always helps facilitate great class discussions with her classmates. She is wonderfully sweet and kind. Her kind heart and good work will take her far. Congratulations, Miss Hannah. And then for TZ, I would like to recognize Zeta Rivers. Zeta, where are you? Right in front of me. Come on up here by me. I'll put my mask back. So Zeta is in Mrs. Fowler's 5th grade class. And Mrs. Fowler writes that Zeta has been working hard to do her very best in school. She concentrates during classroom lessons, she asks great questions, and she tries her very best on assignments. She has a respectful attitude and she makes good choices. Mrs. Fowler says, I am very proud of Zeta. Oh, elbow. I want to keep doing that. I want to keep doing that. Grandma will take pictures outside.
Yes, students and parents, after your award is delivered, feel free to follow your principal out into the lobby for a photo. Mrs. Muncie, if you'd like to present for Deer Meadow.
Good evening. Deer Meadow is very proud to announce Justin Gurrell as our September Student of the Month. He's a 1st grader in Mrs. Miner's class, and this is what Mrs. Miner had to say about Justin. Justin always does his best and works very hard. He's very careful and conscientious with his work. He's a good friend to his classmates and kind to everyone. I'm so glad to have Justin in my class this year.
Thank you. Middle school?
Good evening. If I could call Nathan Overshiner over. So at Greencastle Middle School, every month we celebrate a character trait, and this last month was kindness. Nathan got multiple recognitions from his teachers. Nathan is always kind and polite to his teachers and classmates. He is always willing to help a classmate that is in need. And another teacher says, Nathan always has a friendly smile on his face behind the mask. He is willing to help others and goes above and beyond daily. I love this. His warm greetings exude kindness everywhere he goes. So we would like to recognize Nathan.
Mr. Rogers?
Okay, I saw her over there. Is Rachel, is that you behind that mask? Rachel York? Mrs. Standards, we too have a student of the month, and Mrs. Standards wrote, I've had the privilege of working with Rachel York for 4 years at Greencastle High School. She started as a shy and quiet freshman who was always worried about whether she was doing things right. She's grown into a strong, hardworking, and that's true because I see her at Monocle's, hardworking and responsible woman. Rachel always does her work in class and outside of class. She tries to get her classwork completed early so she can go over it with teachers. This is one of the things I really think is so neat. She pays for her car insurance, her phone, and most of her bills. Rachel is the epitome of responsibility and hard work, and she's very proud that she's had you as her English teacher. I think that's awesome.
So families, thank you for coming. So please feel free to follow your principal out into the lobby for a photo, and then you may leave at any time. Feel free to stay, but you're welcome to leave. Mrs. Phillips, yes, please come on down. Mrs. Phillips is going to recognize her science fair winners from the spring since we didn't have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, so I would like to recognize 4 outstanding students who have been involved in the science fair the last year. Just a little brief history. Greencastle has done a science fair, has put on the science fair since 1985. It's one of those little known things. We also participated in regional, and of course outstanding students can qualify for state fair and international fair. So I first want to recognize Hannah Seaman. I don't know if she's here today, I don't see her. She qualified for state as a freshman with an outstanding project, a material science project on paint. Hiram Hale, he could not be here. He also qualified for state and won a special military award for his project. It was a 3D printing project on an attachment to a mouse for people with disability who may have trouble moving and clicking a mouse. And it was an outstanding project. I'd like to call up Maisha Rashid. She also qualified for state. I'm going to let her talk about just for a few seconds her project.
Can everyone hear me? Oh, we need to put this down. There we go. There we go. All right, innovation at its finest. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Maisha Rashid. I am currently a junior at Greencastle High School, and last year for my state science fair project, I did a project on menstrual-related toxic shock syndrome, which is a disease that affects 10,000 women annually, and my goal was to find a topical natural preventative in order to combat this disease before it even started. So a shout out to Dr. Sharon Crary. Can you please wave? She's such a doll. She helped me like day and night. I worked in her lab and I would not have gotten this far without her. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And I'd also like to call Casey Crary. Casey not only qualified for state science fair, but he qualified for international science fair. Yeah. Unfortunately, in a normal year, Casey would have had a paid trip to San Diego to present his project to a panel of international judges, but with COVID, it became a virtual type project. So I'll give him a few minutes to, or a few seconds to talk about his project.
I'm a junior this year. Can you guys hear me? All right. I'm a junior this year. Last year I did my project on the correlation between a politician's social media usage, specifically tweet magnitude, and the percent of the vote they received in their election. It ended up not really being significant at all, so that was kind of a letdown. And then their follower count versus the percent they got in the election, that was significant, but that's just because in pretty much all of the races, the incumbent won, and they'd already had the chance to generate follower count. And then lastly, I'd like to also shout out Maisha's mom, who helped me, Naima Shifa, with my project.
As you can tell, I can't say enough about these outstanding students and the kind of real scientific research that they're performing here at Greencastle High School.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. And the first item in the consent agenda is approval of the board meeting minutes from September 9th, 2020, a special meeting, September 28th, 2020, executive session meeting minutes, and September 28th, 2020, regular meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the board meeting minutes? No? Okay, next item in the agenda, consent agenda is allowance of claims. Mrs. Rowe.
Ask you.
There you go.
I was going to ask, can you hear me? Because I can't. Okay, in your board packet, you're going to see 2 payrolls for September 2020. The first one's going to be for September 11th, 2020, with a total payroll of $432,654.07. Along with that payroll came the accounts payable for a total of $123,427.99. Second full payroll for September was September 25th, 2020, with a total payroll of $424,571.42. Along with that payroll became the accounts payable. Again, these are going to be for your payroll taxes and retirement, for a total accounts payable for the September 25th payroll of $120,198.64. Any questions about the payrolls for September? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Next in your packet, you'll see a list of prepays for the month of September. Again, there's nothing unusual on this list, and once again, I'll just point out your biggest expense for our prepays would just be for the health insurance. Total prepays for the month of September, $336,263.13. Next in your packet, you're going to see the regular claims dated today, October 26, 2020. There's really nothing out of the usual in this packet. You'll see on for voucher voucher 970 to Cloverdale Schools. I'm going to assume that somebody's going to ask me a question about what that is, and I'll go ahead and let you know what that is. Putnam County qualified for the governor's emergency grant, part of the CARES Act, and essentially this qualified each one of the schools in Putnam County to qualify for hotspots, you know, one-to-one devices, that type of thing. Cloverdale actually applied for one-to-one devices to kind of meet their gap. We are the LEA for Putnam County. That means that we're taking care of all the finances for this grant. So they're basically sending their accounts payable to me, and then I'm doing the paperwork for them and sending it to the state for reimbursement. That way we can turn around and reimburse them for their expenses. So this would be an expense that Cloverdale did incur for their one-to-one devices, which was Chromebooks you can see here. And so we'll be sending off a check to them. And we'll be reimbursed by the GEAR grant. Again, I don't see anything else out of the ordinary. Did anyone have any questions about the claims data today? Okay, we've got a total then for claims of $227,719.32. Ready to move on to the finance report? Okay, we'll do that. Next in your board packet, you're going to see a fund report. We'll start at the top. In Education Fund, you'll see an ending balance as of September 30th, 2020, a balance of $675,273.50. We're going to go down about 3 lines into Fund 300. This will be the Operations Fund for a total ending balance September 30th, 2020 of $1,441,172.75. Total in all funds ending September 30th, 2020 is $5,271,596.19. If you would like to compare that with your depository statement dated September 2020, you'll see the ending balance for all banks is $5,271,596.18. And you'll see that those do not balance. They are off by 1 cent. And once again, this is discrepancy with an ongoing grant. We hope to have this rectified by your November board meeting. We should have this all cleared out and cleared up by the end of October. So hopefully these will balance to the penny in November. And pending any questions, I'd like to request approval.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Romer.
You're welcome.
Next item on the consent agenda is Personnel Report Part 1 and 2. Dr. French.
The personnel reports to be approved tonight have been posted on the website and on the doors of central office, and I'm seeking approval on the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is reports, the Assistant Superintendent reports.
I just wanted to give you an update on the virtual enrollment numbers. So in our first 9 weeks, we started with 283 virtual students, that's K to 12, and we just started our second quarter, or our second 9 weeks, and we have 250 students. So we're going down, which is a good thing, because we want all of our students to feel safe and be healthy enough to return to our classroom. So that's a good movement. I also wanted to update you on our facility assessment. The KRM architect group that we're working with has conducted all their kickoff meetings in each of the buildings, and then we're next planning a board work session for the community so that they can provide input and feedback. So information will be coming out once those details are finalized. And that's all the updates I have.
Okay, thank you. Next agenda item is old business, and we have no old business. So that leads us to new business. And the first item is an approval request for the adoption of the capital projects fund plan, school bus replacement plan, and the 2021 budget-related resolutions. Dr. French.
Yes, since Greencastle has an appointed board, Putnam County Council is is the governing body that conducts hearings and approves our 2021 budget. The GCSC Board of Trustees has held public hearings for capital projects fund plans and bus replacement plans. It's my recommendation for the board to adopt the CPF plan, bus replacement plan, and 2021 budget-related resolutions.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is an approval request for a uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement. Dr. French.
Yes, board members must disclose potential conflicts of interest, and board member Mr. Wilson has disclosed that he has been hired to work security for ECA events. Mr. Wilson is not an employee of the school and may be hired to work events. However, as a board member, he must abstain from voting on anything related to his role in working event security. It's my recommendation that the board approve the uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement.
I'd like a motion to be approved. Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Maybe one abstention. I'll abstain.
Next item on the agenda is an approval request for free lunch meal or free student meal waiver. Dr. French.
Yeah, so the state is providing meal waivers for all of our students, and that was until December 31st, but they've just extended that to June 31st throughout the whole school year. So regardless of a student's status, all students can eat.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve? So moved. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a donation from Raymond James Financial to the Greencastle High School Girls Basketball Program for $500.
Yes, we are requesting an approval of a donation from Raymond James Financial to Greencastle High School and would like to thank them for the support of our students.
I move we accept the money.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the donation to the girls basketball program. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the approval request for the second reading of all of the Neola policies, the 25 of them or so, or 20 of them or so maybe, that Mr. Gibney presented to us at the September meeting. Basically, all we do tonight is just vote to approve all of them. Does anyone have any questions or comments to make on these Neola policies before we approve them all in the second reading? Okay, I don't feel that there's a need to go through each one of them again. Can I get a motion to approve? Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the second reading of the Neola policies that was presented last month. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Which brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is other business. Does anyone have any other business? Okay, Hearing none. Short meeting tonight. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that.
Okay,
And thank everybody for coming, I'm sorry.
motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.